Hello and welcome to another episode of Tony the Movie Guy, the podcast. This is a lost episode of the podcast, recorded back in November of last year, 2017, right? Oh, so long ago. Tony and Yenny will give their thoughts on some of the movies released at the end of the year, including Justice League, and then discuss the main topic, movie villains. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. I'll see you after the podcast. Bye.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Tony the Movie Guy. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. All right, hello everyone. This is Tony the Movie Guy, and
Miss Money Annie here.
she's back.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm sorry you missed the last episode.
No, it was sad. I was unavailable, guys. Sorry for that.
You know, she has a life. She's busy. She does a lot. And Shannon Barnes, my good friend, filled in, and we discussed action movies.
It was so good, though.
Yeah, it was a fun episode. Great. Yeah, the last few episodes have been really action-packed. So actually, it's nice to kind of just chill, relax. And
cup of tea right here.
Yeah, exactly. You got your tea, and we're just, you and I, and we'll just kind of have a nice, relaxed episode this evening.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so what we're going to discuss is movie villains. That should be fun because, you know, who doesn't love a good villain?
Right.
So we're going to go over that. And also I did a poll, you know, kind of similar to some of the other things I've asked online, and got lots of great feedback and comments about good movie villains. So we're going to discuss that soon. But one thing I wanted to go over real quick before that was we've been doing episodes every now and then reviewing specific movies that we see, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to kind of keep doing that exact format. But we do see new movies and people like the reviews. Yeah. Now, number one, I am Tony the Movie Guy, and I have my Facebook page, and I will always post a review immediately after I watch a movie in the theater for a new release.
Yeah, and we've had good feedback on those. People find it really helpful. So
right, and most of the listeners have said they go there and they read that first.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try something here, and what I think we'll do is we'll just kind of do a little segment, you know, like now it's time for Tony's Movie Beat or something like that.
Every time.
Yeah, when a new movie yeah. So when a new movie comes out, maybe kind of as an intro, we'll just cover a little movie beat, any new movie news.
Stuff coming out that you know about newly and that kind of thing.
Exactly. People like to hear about new releases, trailers, or films we've seen.
Perfect.
And we'll just cover a little segment. So that's what we're going to do now. You saw Murder on the Orient Express.
Correct.
Which I haven't seen, and it's not because I didn't want to see it. It's because it's based on a very famous Agatha Christie book about Poirot, this detective. And I've seen the TV movie with David Suchet, and I've seen the original film. So I wasn't dying to go out to the theater to see it. I'll see it when it comes out on iTunes for sure.
Yeah.
But you saw that and you enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it. Shall I start?
Yeah. So you go ahead and kind of tell people what you thought about Murder on the Orient Express.
Yes. So first of all, I'm a big fan of Kenneth Branagh. He's produced some films and been in some films that I really, really enjoy.
So he directed it and he starred in it as Poirot.
Yes, he was Poirot, the French super detective, basically. And you know, it has a great action-packed intro that sort of introduces him as this, because he's a very quirky character, Poirot. He's got these amazing characteristics of a very intelligent yet funny, you know.
He's very eccentric.
It's exactly that word. And they really introduce him well as that. And then, you know, the story, the plot begins and the whole, he's trying to actually I'm just going to give it a little bit of an intro, like he's trying to sort of take a vacation, and he takes a train with his friend, and everything obviously goes crazy from there. The cast, as you know,
is phenomenal.
Awesome. He is excellent as Poirot. And then you have Michelle Pfeiffer.
I love her.
Who's fantastic in that. You have Johnny Depp, you have Josh Gad, as you said, from Beauty and the Beast, who's brilliant. You have
She called him the big fat person. And I know you love Josh Gad, so
out me.
no disrespect, but she was like, you know that big fat guy from Book of Mormon?
That's not what I said. I didn't
What
say
did you
that
say?
big fat guy. I said the chubby guy from
yeah.
Beauty and the Beast.
Oh yeah, you did that. That's just as bad. But anyway, and we love Josh Gad. I
No,
love
he was actually excellent in this because you see a little bit more of a serious side, actually.
Okay.
Funny and serious. And I'm missing somebody. Who else? Oh, obviously Daisy Ridley from Star Wars is in
Star
it.
Wars. She's
she was,
Rey.
and she's great in it. And there's just it's awesome.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe's in it.
Correct.
One of the main guys from Hamilton is in it. Leslie Odom Jr. I mean, the cast is phenomenal.
So
Penelope Cruz.
correct. Yeah. I mean. Judi Dench, who's one
yeah,
of my
Dame
favorites.
Judi
Yeah,
Dench.
I mean, it was just brilliant. I sort of dragged my husband to see it, and
Did he like it?
loved it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he really enjoyed it. And yeah, the whole story is obviously it's a complete murder mystery, but they do a beautiful job at making it very, like a book, really like a good Agatha Christie
It
book.
unravels like a book.
Yeah, it unravels. And the beauty is I usually know the endings to most thrillers and most movie. I'm like you in that way. Usually I kind of have a twist figured out.
You figure it out.
Yeah, I did not.
Okay.
And it has almost 2 to 3 endings where you think it's one person, and it's really beautifully done. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Great all-around family film. I mean, it's a little dark at times, definitely not for the little kids, but it's a great one to just delve into, and action-packed pretty much all the way through. It's
So
brilliant.
you definitely recommend it.
Definitely recommended.
What would you, I mean, I'm not going to rate it, but what would you give it out of 5 stars?
3.5.
1 to 5. 3.5?
Yeah.
So that's like very good.
Very good. Very
Okay,
good.
great. All right, so everyone should check out Murder on the Orient Express. And yeah, again, it's not that I'm not interested in it. My father...
You knew the story, right?
Yeah, well, I've seen, again, it's a remake.
Exactly.
And David Suchet, I'm surprised you've never heard of the British TV series Poirot with David Suchet.
I didn't watch a lot of British TV growing up, but we actually only were allowed to watch films. So I watched very little British television.
One of my dad's favorite TV shows, so I grew up watching it with him. I bought him the whole box set, actually.
Oh, wow.
So I loved it. And one of the episodes is like a Christmas special, which is Murder on the Orient Express, which was really good. So yeah, definitely people should check that out. It's doing quite well.
Yeah.
They're already
Packed film cinema. When I was
they've
there.
greenlit a sequel. They're doing another
Brilliant.
one.
And I think they'll do several because there's so much material there to work with. And now that people like Kenneth Branagh as Poirot, you could do a lot with it. And I'm really excited about that because I'll see all of them.
Okay, good. So that's Murder on the Orient Express. And then I saw, because I'm a total comic book geek.
Nerd.
Yeah, I am. Very proud of it. I saw Justice League. And God bless her, I dragged my wife out to see it with me.
And I said to Tony, he asked me if I wanted to go see it with him. I said, you know what? I'm going to let you test this one because I'm just not a big enough fan to spend the money. And if you say it's brilliant, I'll go and see it.
Right. So it's not brilliant.
Yeah.
It's not a disaster either. Okay. Now, here's the thing. So I posted my review of Justice League. I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. It was very split.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you something. This film was doomed a little bit because, number one, just the incredible expectation for the Justice League was so high. I mean, it made $96 million on its opening weekend and was considered a big disappointment.
Wow.
I mean, that's like 5 times what Murder on the Orient Express made.
But for what a Marvel or a DC, like a film.
Well, it's Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, all these great people together. They were expecting it to be a huge hit. But also, I don't think they should have because it's taken 2 or 3 years of development hell. Unfortunately, Zack Snyder, who directed the film, had to leave.
Right?
Well, he didn't, but he had to leave because of personal tragedy.
Oh.
And then Joss Whedon took over, who directed The Avengers, but he basically had to take on an almost complete film and kind of fix it, quote unquote. And then Henry Cavill, who plays Superman, obviously, which, by the way, I think it was a big mistake that he was completely omitted from all of the marketing for Justice League. Obviously, everyone knows he's in the movie.
Yeah.
He comes back.
Exactly.
when Joss Whedon had to do reshoots for the film, he had to bring Henry Cavill back. And Henry Cavill had already signed on for Mission Impossible 6, where he plays a role in that film. And he donned a mustache. So for every one of the reshoots, the CGI team had to go in and remove his mustache. And unfortunately, because I knew that, it's so noticeable and it looks so weird. Now, if I didn't even know that, maybe it wouldn't have bugged me, but it really bugged me.
Now, I have a question just as a little recap for someone like me who hasn't read the comics. Or what is Justice League really about? I mean, I know they all get together and form the Justice League, but what is the general story?
Sure, well, it's as simple as this. Avengers, you've got the whole, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, all those heroes. Justice League is Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Flash, Aquaman as a team, doing pretty much exactly the same thing. So here's the thing. Justice League, I think it's absolutely a movie worth watching, and I think people should go see it. And unfortunately, it's sad, again, with the kind of development hell it went through, and then also just all the news. There was such a spotlight on it. Everyone overanalyzed this film months, years before it even came out.
Right.
It never had a chance to kind of breathe.
Right.
Which is a pity. Also, Rotten Tomatoes, all the critics were withheld until the day before the movie came out. And then, unfortunately, as usual, they slaughtered it. It's like 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, so that probably didn't help. But here's the thing. The characters in Justice League are really fun. And they're actually the best thing about Justice League.
Right.
Superman's cool. I like him. I actually don't have a problem with Batfleck. I think Ben Affleck is kind of somber but effective as Batman.
Did you say Batfleck?
Yeah, Batfleck. That's what
amazing.
he's deemed as Batfleck.
Okay.
And then, Gal Gadot is great as Wonder Woman. She continues to shine. Jason Momoa is kind of cool as Aquaman. You don't see a lot of it. Ray Fisher, who's an actor I don't know, was actually pretty decent as Cyborg.
Okay.
And then I loved Ezra Miller as Flash. For me, he was the strongest character.
And he's the Flash for the TV show?
No,
it's a different
totally
one?
different character. He's the gay guy from Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh, okay, got
anyway,
it.
I love that actor. He's a
great actor.
Great actor, and he was fantastic in that movie. He's great as the Flash. I like him. He brings, the film's most comic moments. But the characters are great.
Okay.
And as a team, they're great. And,
so where does it fall short the most?
Well, that's what I'm going to tell you.
Okay. So I'm really interested.
Yeah, and as a group, when they're all together, it's really good. So I enjoyed that a lot. And you can also tell, the film is under 2 hours long. You can tell they probably cut like an hour out of this movie. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of character development and plot development that's probably not included. Here's where the film almost killed it for me, is the CGI.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
Steppenwolf, which is the big bad villain, is all CGI. He's like right out of a bad Xbox game.
Oh, no.
He was just terrible. As I said, the effects you can really notice, unfortunately, if Henry Cavill's mustache removed, so it just looks so weird. And again, the overuse of CGI brought me out of the story and took away from the characters for me.
Right.
So that's why I was split down the middle, But if you remove that, the fact that we have a Justice League movie, it's there, and we have all of these wonderful DC heroes together, I think that's a win. And I really did enjoy the characters. So I do want people to go and see it. And I want to rewatch it. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing like whatever extended full cut version comes out, because I think I'll enjoy it.
Right.
So I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. Is it a total disaster? No, it's not the big win we wanted either.
Okay.
But it's a fun, enjoyable movie. And to me, that's a big improvement over Batman vs Superman, because
that was awful.
Well, it just took itself so seriously. It actually has moments of pure joy, but overall it was just way too somber.
Yeah.
And this isn't. But the CGI, I think, is a big problem on the whole. Anyway, so...
Which is funny because the Marvel movies have a phenomenal balance of the way they do their CGI practical effects and their humor, that it doesn't bother you very much.
Right.
But there's, I was listening to a podcast the other day talking about exactly this. You have to have that nailed, because if your CGI takes you out, that's exactly the result you get.
Yeah, and sometimes the Marvel movies do overdo the CGI and the villains,
Yeah.
and their third act usually is something that is criticized, but the films on a whole are just so enjoyable.
Exactly.
And fantastic.
Okay.
Anyway, so 2.5 out of 5 stars. It's very split in the middle. I actually do recommend people go watch it. So
Do you
they
think
can,
they'll do another?
Well, they're already doing Aquaman. That's already in production. I don't know if they'll do a sequel. We'll see how it does at the box office. I mean, it would need to make like $800 to $1 billion for them to do that. So we'll see.
Okay.
But I want people to go see it and decide for themselves. So that's Justice League movie villains. So again, I surveyed a bunch of the fans who gave their contributions and their own comments on different movie villains. And, I have my own list, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of go through them, discuss them.
You start.
Yeah, I'm going to. And the way we'll do it is I'll do one, you do one, and we'll go back and forth like that.
Sounds good.
I think that's more interactive.
Yeah, and Tony does have a lot more than I do, and there was a lot that I actually passed on because I knew he would have them, and we could do a little more deep on those because we both love them.
Yeah, most of these, again, are from the listeners.
Okay, cool.
And the people who commented. So, and then I kind of added, maybe a dozen myself. So probably the first and foremost, and I think everyone will agree, the most badass movie villain who you love to hate and hate to love is Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, I was going to say that or the Joker would be your top, or Darth Vader.
Yeah, so I mean, that is just a villain for the ages, Hannibal
So
Lecter.
amazing.
I mean, in the film, The Silence of the Lambs, he is not the villain.
Exactly.
He's actually not. Buffalo Bill is the villain.
Correct.
He's the one who helps Clarice, solve the
crime.
mystery and find, the girl who had been abducted and everything. But I mean, he's a villain.
Oh, yes.
He's a cannibal. He's a serial
Crazy
killer.
as-
He's
yeah.
brilliantly crazy and so
So
deliciously crazy. And again, that's in like 20 minutes in that
Which
film.
you don't, and his performance is so spectacularly done that it
doesn't
feels
feel-
like the whole film.
Right, it
because
feels
it's
like he
interspersed.
commands the whole movie.
He does. His performance commands that film. I mean, obviously, Clarice, I just blanked on her name.
Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster does amazing too,
Yeah.
but his performance, I mean, and Anthony Hopkins is just spectacular anyway, but as a villain, as a psychotic but lovable villain, absolutely.
Yes, I think
100%.
he's the best.
Yeah.
So what do you got?
It's actually what I wrote on your Facebook page, the Sheriff of Nottingham, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh, Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman.
At
who-
least it wasn't the spoon.
No, he says, well, yeah, pretty much. But he says, I'm going to cut your heart out with a spoon. Anyway, I used to rewatch that film a lot when I was little.
Yeah, you have a lot of love for that movie.
I do. I loved it when
it came
much
out.
love for that movie. I used to watch it with my mom, with my dad, and I swear I must have seen it over 30 times.
Right.
And Alan Rickman, that villain is something of a, the classic knife behind his back, yet so nasty and so evil and so conniving. I just found
he's such
him
a slime ball for sure.
so slimy. Like you root for Robin Hood obviously so much, and his darkness and everything about it. I love him.
Yeah, no, he's a fantastic villain. Again, as I've told you before, I don't think the film has aged so well, which is probably why his role in it hasn't kind of been immortalized. But he's great in it.
So good.
Yeah, but so I'll do one, which is Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber.
That was another one of mine.
That is a villain that has stood the test of time.
Oh, yes.
I mean, the film as a whole is phenomenal, but he almost set the bar for movie villains.
I only saw that for the first time like a year ago.
Die Hard?
The original Die Hard. I'd seen all the others and never the original.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
Oh, I watch that movie every year.
I love it so much that
fantastic.
since I've seen it twice because I love it.
Yeah,
and he
it's-
is so good.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and he's so
Christmas
good
movie, by the way, guys.
Yeah, it is, and many critics and people will say it is. I think he's one of the best movie villains. Hans Gruber, Alan Rickman. Rest in peace. It's such a fantastic
So good.
actor. There's not much more to say about it. He's just so delicious. What do you got?
A kind of obvious one that you probably have on your list, but definitely one of my favorites, Lord Voldemort, Harry Potter.
Of course, Ralph Fiennes.
Yes, Ralph Fiennes, but also funnily enough, I wanted to comment on, where they do there are flashbacks of him as a child and this, as he's becoming evil, that little kid.
Oh, Tom Riddle.
Yeah, Tom Riddle. That evilness, the evil that's growing with that child and the looks he's giving him.
It's like out of The Omen.
Yeah, really, really nasty. So Tom Riddle and Lord Voldemort in Harry Potter, for me, absolute incredible villain.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's, obviously those films are pretty recent in the last decade, but I think Voldemort and Ralph Fiennes playing him has already kind of cemented itself in the, Hall of Fame of top movie villains.
Without
for sure.
question.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I'll do one. We got to do Darth Vader.
Of course.
Now Darth Vader is a villain everyone loves because obviously he redeems himself. He saves Luke. He's good in the end. But Darth Vader is through and through a villain. I mean,
absolutely.
he definitely
He's the epitome of evil.
Yeah,
darkness.
I'm not talking about Hayden Christensen's portrayal of him.
Please.
I'm talking about from, obviously episode 4, 5, and 6, James Earl Jones voicing him. Darth Vader, I fell in love with him immediately. He had such an incredible presence, using the dark side of the Force. It was so cool. And then obviously James Earl Jones's,
amazing
voice.
Booming,
Luke, I am your father.
Wow, that was pretty good.
Was
Tony.
that good? Jenny's looking at me like I'm nuts, or she's impressed.
I'm actually impressed.
Oh, okay, good.
I think you should have saved that for our Star Wars episode.
No, maybe I actually can do impersonations.
That was pretty good. Yeah,
anyway, Darth Vader's absolutely fantastic.
100%.
As a matter of fact, that was my favorite thing about Rogue One. Someone asked me my favorite Star Wars moments from different movies. And that hallway sequence where Darth Vader opens a can of whoop-ass at the end of Rogue One on all the Rebel Alliance troopers. Oh my God, I think that's the best Darth Vader scene I've ever seen.
And actually in that movie, I didn't really enjoy Rogue One that much personally.
I know. Blasphemy.
And trust me, I love 4, 5, 6, and I loved Force Awakens, but Rogue One to me was it was all right.
Right. No, and I reviewed it. The first half, slow. The second half, amazing. But that's okay.
Anyway.
Darth Vader, incredible. So we both agree. Everyone will agree. He's one of the most beloved movie villains of all time.
Absolutely.
What do you got?
So those are, and it's interesting because there's like you said, movie villains you love to hate, and you can also get compassionate for them because they end up somehow being good in some way. And then they're just really evil, nasty movie villains that you want to die, like my next one, Inglourious Basterds.
Ooh.
Hans Landa.
Yeah, Christoph Waltz.
Oh my gosh, I rewatched that recently, which I had never seen right to the end. I had somehow watched half that film twice. So I was on a plane and I watched the whole thing through. What an incredible movie, by the way.
Oh
my gosh, what a great
film. I
film.
love Inglourious Basterds.
It is incredible all the way through, but that performance, Christoph Waltz, who I love anyway, but that evil son of a bitch.
Yeah, here's the thing about Inglourious Basterds. There's two things I think. It's obviously Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
I think outside of Pulp Fiction, it's his best film. I love it. His ability to master suspense in that film is incredible. And then the portrayal of Hans Landa from Christoph Waltz, which is funny because he won an Oscar for that movie.
Yes.
And then he did Django Unchained, where he played almost the polar opposite, and he won an Oscar for that role. But he was someone who you loved.
Yeah,
he was a really good character. What I love in Inglourious Basterds is obviously there's several scenes that are just incredible.
The farm sequence.
Of course, his interrogations. But actually what I loved the most was at the end, and this is a spoiler, but this film's been out for a long time, when he strangles and kills the girl. And finally, he just loses his shit.
Yes.
Because a German celebrity has basically betrayed Hitler. And,
correct.
And he just goes nuts and leaps across the table and strangles her. And he's spitting and drooling. And he's just a psychotic, feral animal.
So good.
And then the rest of the movie, he's all calm and polite and that scene is so creepy and very disturbing to watch. But that's a great pick.
And,
he was on my list.
And then at the end, how when he finally gets his reckoning, he can't even fathom it. And he's still all the way till that end going, this isn't happening.
Yeah, how did you best me?
What? And he's
Actually, he
so
kind
good.
of does get away with it.
In a way.
Yes, he gets scarred, but it's incredible. And that was a bold choice of the director and storyteller. But anyway, that's a great pick for sure.
Go ahead.
All right. I mean, so I can't believe I even waited this long to say it. But yes, of course, Heath Ledger's Joker, which, I mean, number one, the Joker is such a beloved villain anyway from the comics. And Jack Nicholson, when he did it, in the 1989 movie, I mean, he got paid like 10 times more what Michael Keaton got paid. And everyone thought, oh my God, that's the best performance of the Joker. It can't be bested. And when Heath Ledger got cast for the Joker, many people were like, what? And then, of course, I mean, the rest is history. He blew everyone away. I've said this so many times. He's an incredible villain. But the performance, to me, is a performance that should be, and I think will be, studied for centuries.
Absolutely.
Just in terms of like masterclass acting.
Absolutely.
He's so unhinged and psychotic, but he doesn't really have any purpose other than mayhem and anarchy.
Totally.
Obviously, we're talking about the Joker from The Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight. And I mean, there's all these stories and, theories and, surrounding, Heath Ledger going so much into character that he kind of drove himself crazy and things like that. And I don't know about all that, but the performance was amazing. And obviously, unfortunately, he died in real life before the movie came out and he won the Oscar posthumously. But I mean, that performance, he is mesmerizing in every scene he's in. You want to know how I got these scars? And every time he
even
tells,
that was good, Tony. You're getting good at this.
Thank you. I should quit my day job and become an impressionist. Thanks, Jim Meskimen. No, like throughout the movie, there's like 3 different times where he's like, you want to know how I got these scars? And he tells a different story.
Right.
Oh, he's just so good. And he's like, oh, and then, Batman's like, you want to kill me? He's like, kill you? Kill you? I don't want to kill you. You complete me. Anyway,
so nuts.
He's incredible.
And what I think for an actor, the stellar performance, if it can carry a film, like if you took away the rest of the brilliant action sequences and the rest of that film, the Joker, I mean, Batman is great and everything, but he carries that film.
Oh, of
the
course.
entire film. And that's what tells you it killed it.
Because
the performance killed it.
Yeah, again, it's a performance. I mean, just in terms of, nuance, acting, his eyes, his expressions, everything, the voice, the way he speaks, the way he looked, it's incredible. I mean, it really, really is. So it's not even just a fanboy thing. I think anyone who watches it will just be like, oh my God, this is just a performance for the ages. So Absolutely. There you go. That's the Joker. Okay, so your turn.
My next one. Okay, so I'm going to get a little on the less popular,
that's okay.
Bigger movies here. Count Rugen from Princess Bride. So he's not the prince, but the guy who does his evil, dirty work.
Oh, the guy with 6 fingers.
The guy with 6 fingers, a 6-fingered man.
Inigo Montoya's father.
Correct. And and the reason I bring that up is, okay, Princess Bride is a childhood favorite of mine. It's my all-time, one of my favorite fantasy films. He goes so nuts, and the performance, do you remember the performance where he's got Inigo on the table and he gets so, actually no, that's the prince. That when he goes nuts, but then when he's torturing him and he's just loving every minute of torturing
you see his eyes
him.
And he enjoys that he's getting hurt. Yeah.
So those, I love the prince as well as a villain in that. I just find them great fantasy villains, but that's one of mine.
That's a good pick. I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I had to go with Loki, Tom Hiddleston. And to me,
he's too good.
Oh, okay. Here's what people forget, and I'm glad you said that.
Okay.
Remember the Avengers?
I actually don't remember what he does.
He kills Phil Coulson, which is why they come together as the Avengers. He's one of the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, he does?
Yeah,
I totally forgot.
He's the villain of the Avengers.
I love him so much now that I totally forgot.
I know, and that's the funny thing. He is the ultimate villain that you love. But he's absolutely a villain. And as you even said,
it's true.
When you look at Thor Ragnarok and stuff, he's always going to do something backhanded.
Yep.
He's always plotting. He's so conniving. Yes,
what's going to benefit him.
Right. We love him now. But again, we talked about Darth Vader, who ultimately is good. So I think Loki absolutely counts. And
You're right.
I mean, Tom Hiddleston did such an incredible job because a lot of people forget Loki from Thor, the first Thor movie, because his character was kind of one note.
It was a bit.
He's the bad guy in that too. And you think he dies, but you don't really care about him. In the Avengers was when everyone fell in love with him. He was so good. And then they brought him back in, Thor 2 and now in
Thor
Ragnarok.
2, you fell in love with him a bit more because you think he dies again.
Right.
And you kind of go, oh God, actually, I kind of really liked him. And
Anyway, I love Loki. He's fantastic.
That's brilliant. Good one.
Sorry to interrupt, everybody,
Don't make fun of me. Why are we stopping the episode?
because we have a sponsor.
Ooh! All right, yeah, we have a message from our sponsor. I'm actually really happy to tell you all about this. For you, the listeners of Tony the Movie Guy podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service.
Tell me more.
Now, look, it's actually really important to me that I only promote products and services I truly believe in to you. And Audible is definitely one of them. Obviously, I'm a geek, so I grew up reading books. I've probably read thousands of books. Have you read lots of books, babe?
I'm not much of a reader, but I do listen to them.
Exactly.
No,
there you go.
it's true. Like I can sit in my car and listen to them, but I don't have time to sit down and read them.
Well, cue audible.com. So look, I've read thousands of books, and most of our, most classic and beloved films came from books. Audible.com has over 180,000 titles to choose from. Can you believe that?
Kind of, yeah.
Anyway, so recently, one of the books I actually listened to on audible.com was Ready Player One by Ernest Cline.
That movie that's coming out.
Exactly.
I'm so excited.
It's actually one of my favorite books of the last decade, and now Steven Spielberg is directing it, and it's coming out in a few months. So that's awesome. So look, you can all pick an audiobook of your choice available at audible.com. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Tony the Movie Guy. That's audibletrial.com/Tony the Movie Guy for your free audiobook and 30-day trial. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, okay, so gotta give one to Scar from The Lion King.
Oh, on my list.
Of
Absolutely.
course.
And that's voiced by Jeremy Irons. So deliciously.
Good. So well.
I mean, Scar is scary.
So scary. When I don't remember how old I was. I saw it in the cinema several times. But he's a terrifying villain.
Long live the king.
Yeah. Very good.
But I mean, he's so vicious. Absolutely.
And he's got that perfect, always conniving, always pretending to be your friend when he really very much is not. And so good.
Absolutely. Great pick. Okay, I've got Norman Bates, of course. Anthony Perkins from
I have
Psycho.
that on my list too.
So I don't think there's much to say about that. I mean, it's a very old movie. Well, old, 40, 50 years. But I mean...
A man's best friend is his mother.
Right. He was just so unsettling. So I think he has to be on a list of any movie villains. Go ahead.
100%. Okay. The warden and the captain from Shawshank Redemption.
Okay, I had the warden.
Okay.
For sure.
The warden is the most...
You mean the prison guard?
Yeah,
Clancy
he's called the captain. I mean, I looked it up, but the warden primarily. I mean, they are just so evil.
Yeah.
But obviously the person that carries out his dirty work, who, beats the fat guy to death.
Right.
That is the fat guy. There's no other way to explain that at the beginning. And I mean, I just recently rewatched that, and the portrayal of the warden, so brilliant.
Yeah, I had the warden on the list for sure. And, he commits suicide at the end because he's too proud. But he was just so chilling and just so evil. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
So nasty.
Okay, I have one that I put on the list, which actually on my poll that I did, I was surprised. This villain, she came up the most, which is Dolores Umbridge from the Harry Potter movies, Imelda Staunton. Oh my God. I mean, yes, she was bad. Honestly, I was like, whatever, but I think
there was a horrific nastiness about her because she had that thing of like a mother that beats her children like
She
corporal
tortures
punishment.
them, doesn't she? Yeah,
she
like
tortures
50
them.
or 60 people chose what's her name? Dolores Umbridge. So I had to put her on the list.
Beautifully portrayed too.
Yeah.
Brilliant performance.
There you go. Your turn.
Okay, so I had Norman Bates next and Silence of the Lambs. Okay, obviously a phenomenal movie villain, Sauron, Lord of the Rings.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't put him on the list because he's just kind of an entity, but I guess so.
But if you...
Oh, hold on. Saruman or
Sauron.
Sauron?
You're right.
The
Sauron
eye.
is an entity. Saruman is excellent too,
Right.
which I was going to bring up as well.
Christopher Lee, right?
Christopher Lee, yeah, both brilliant villains. But even though Sauron is, there's no actor there or anything else, as a driving force of a villain and the evil that creates and what it does to people, I thought it was worth a mention.
See, and it's funny you say that because really Gollum could be a villain.
Of course.
I mean, Gollum is actually very evil. But again, if you think about it, Gollum is the one who saves the day.
In the end,
because
he does.
Frodo gives in to the ring when
That's
he's
right.
right on the precipice of Mount Doom.
And he bites his
and
finger.
if it wasn't for Gollum, who bites his finger off and steals the ring and then falls in, then Sauron
He might have
would have
killed
won.
Sam or
Right.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, but Gollum, I think, would also be included for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, good. I'm going to steal it though and do another one myself. Okay, Pennywise. So I haven't
Missed that brilliant one,
I haven't seen the new film,
which we're watching together when it comes out.
Bill Skarsgård portrays him, and he gets rave reviews for it. Again, the TV movie isn't fantastic, but Tim Curry as Pennywise scared the living shit out of me
He was
when I was
scary
a kid.
as hell. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got to go on there.
Absolutely. And I'm sure when we watch the new one, the other one will also be fantastic.
We all float too.
All right, I put this on
We
there,
all
which was
float
on-
too. Go
We
ahead.
all float down here. Okay, sorry. And then after Psycho, I actually had Patrick from American Psycho.
Patrick Bateman,
correct.
yeah, Christian Bale.
I
phenomenal.
loved that performance, especially because it's so twisted
So
and so
deranged.
deranged. Exactly that.
Well, you
word,
actually
yeah.
don't know at the end if it's all a figment of his imagination or if he actually did all those killings and everything.
Yeah, I kind of got that. I mean, for me, I thought it was all his mental state somehow. But that's what the beauty of the film is. It leaves it open.
Well, it shows him stuffing a cat down an ATM machine. I mean,
forgot
how do you do that?
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, yeah, I thought that was a phenomenal villain.
Yeah.
Because he's very, very deformed.
Yeah, he's the total sociopath. But American Psycho is also a film I highly recommend people watch because when I heard of it, I thought it was just going to be like some kind of slasher horror. It's such a deranged but kind of brilliantly done film. It's so tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
You know, when he's talking about his business card and his suits and music and while he's hacking people to bits and it's a deranged film, but you're right. And his performance as Patrick Bateman is phenomenal.
It's interesting you say that. That just made me think of the TV show Dexter. It's on that
Well, he's a
beat.
much better character, though.
Totally.
Yeah, he has a code at least.
Yeah. But still, that you still kind of like him. Anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Continue.
Okay, good. So I had to go with Roy Batty, Rutger Hauer from Blade Runner, the first one.
Okay.
Again, he is a villain, but really all he's trying to do is look for life because he's a replicant. He only has 5 years to live. And in the end of the film, he saves Harrison Ford,
right?
And he gives that incredible speech that literally makes me tear up. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe, the tears in the rain speech. But he's a phenomenal villain. I think he's mesmerizing in every scene he's in the original Blade Runner. So I had to say Roy Batty.
Awesome. All right, my next one was Jaws.
Yeah, I have Jaws.
The
shark, of course.
Obviously it is a villain, 100%. Even though it's an animal, it's a shark, it's a fish.
Yeah, of course. He's definitely a villain.
He is very much a villain that you are terrified of, and actually a very powerful one because that had me scared of going in the ocean for a very long time.
You and the whole world,
and
sister.
even in a pool. Yeah. Like I'd be in a swimming pool. It's completely impossible for a shark to be in a swimming pool, but I was terrified.
Yeah, I agree completely.
So yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so you won't know this name, Eamon Goeth. This is one of the most chilling villains ever. Also because this person was real. That's Ralph Fiennes, and he's the villain from Schindler's List.
Right. Yeah.
I
Oh
think
my
that's
gosh.
what makes that even more spooky. I don't know if his character is real. I think he's kind of a amalgamation.
someone?
I think
Yeah.
he's an amalgamation of different characters, but
Okay.
you know that people like that obviously existed during the
course.
Holocaust. He's so chilling. It's such an incredible performance, but it's so chilling. He's just pure evil,
Yeah.
but he really believes what he's doing.
Right.
He thinks
Has it all justified?
yeah, he thinks they are the supreme race, and he's doing, God's bidding, quote unquote.
Right.
Anyway, it's
Like
so
fully brainwashed into that idea.
yeah, and the scenes where he's just like smoking a cigarette with a coffee and just picking off people in the camps, with a
Wow.
sniper rifle.
I wasn't able to
casually.
finish that film.
So you've never watched it,
I
right?
couldn't handle it. I watched half and I just was in tears. I couldn't handle it, so I walked out.
Yeah, I mean, look, Schindler's List is a very rough film. It's all about the Holocaust, but it's a film that has to be seen
Of course.
just because it deserves to, and it's a masterful story, and it's so incredibly done from Steven Spielberg. But Ralph Fiennes' performance
Yeah.
as the primary villain there, it is just outstanding. So I had to give him a mention.
100%. Okay, the mother from Carrie.
Oh, the original.
Mm-hmm.
I guess
Well,
either one. the
yeah,
remake
exactly.
too. Julianne Moore.
Julianne
plays the
Moore
mother.
actually did really well
Yeah,
in that
she's just
remake.
crazy.
She's nuts. She's she also, I mean, at the beginning it showed that the opening scene is she's gonna stab her baby. It's like
Right.
pretty intense, and she's like a religious nutcase basically, and has everything very twisted, and sex is bad, everything is bad, and she locks her in a closet, and she pretty much creates a monster.
Well, she suppresses
Yeah.
Carrie.
She
Really
suppresses
does.
her so much that she creates her, the evil that she then creates. So I thought that was a pretty good villain.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I didn't even think of that one. Okay, good. Kaiser Soze from Usual Suspects, which Kevin Spacey, which kind of sucks now that with all the,
I know, he's so good in
I
that.
know, with all the noise about Kevin Spacey, but that separate the
Yeah.
actor from the
Exactly.
character. I mean, Kaiser Soze is just fantastic. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he didn't exist, and then poof, poof, he's gone.
So good.
Here's the thing about The Usual Suspects. I love that movie, but once you know the twist, the gut punch is taken away from it a bit.
Sure.
But that performance is phenomenal, especially because, Verbal Kint, played by Kevin Spacey,
Mm-hmm.
is Kaiser Soze, the big bad guy. Sorry, spoiler. The film is 25 years old. But I swear to God, when you watch that movie, you have no idea.
Oh, I had no clue.
Blew me away.
I remember I
mean,
turned to somebody and I was like, wait,
Right.
he was doing the walk and then his walk changes.
Right.
And I'm like, what?
'Cause
Wait, what's happening?
Yeah, he plays this pathetic
God.
kind of victim so
Yeah.
well. And the entire movie is a fabrication, and he's really the big bad. I've given away, but again, come on.
Yeah. It's a great movie.
Yeah,
though.
so, I mean, Kaiser Soze, and also just the mythology that they
Mm-hmm.
build around that character, how, he's like the devil incarnate.
Yeah.
Anyway, fantastic.
Everyone is afraid of Kaiser Soze.
Exactly.
It was so good.
Okay, go.
Okay, my next one was actually the Vampire Lestat. Interview
Oh,
with a
Tom
Vampire.
Cruise?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
it's a little bit out there, but honestly, when I was little, it scared the crap out of me.
Again, he's kind of a villain you love.
It's a villain you love, but he does some pretty nasty things.
I haven't read them all. I think I read one or two of them in the Anne Rice books.
Yeah.
He's basically the protagonist. He's
Yeah.
like the hero.
Yeah.
Even though he's a vampire, so he's bad. But you're right. In that movie, Brad Pitt is really
Correct.
kind of the
Brad
protagonist.
Pitt is the good guy.
And Tom Cruise is the antagonist
and
as
he's the
Lestat.
bad guy.
Yeah.
But I loved his performance as Lestat.
I was going to say, I've seen that film again last year. It'd been
Oh, you
a
did?
long time, and I was actually really impressed with it.
Oh, good. 'Cause
especially
I want to watch it again.
Especially Tom Cruise. I think he's really good as Lestat. And I
Yeah.
remember Anne Rice, when that film came out in the early 90s, was absolutely vehemently against Tom Cruise
Yeah.
being portrayed in that role. She just thought he was too much of a pretty boy until
Yeah.
she saw his performance. And then she was like, wow, he nailed it. And he's really good in it.
Yeah. So I loved that. I thought it was a really good evil vampire.
Okay, great pick. Okay, here's
Before
one.
they became shiny, pretty people.
Right, yeah. Thank you, Twilight. Okay, here's one that everyone's gonna. This is controversial. It came up a lot in the polls, but it's totally true. Which is Alan Rickman, who's, if you notice, on this list a lot.
Yes.
Professor Snape.
But he's not evil.
Good. So neither is Darth Vader, really. So here's
But
well,
it's a bit different.
well, here's the reason.
Snape doesn't do anything evil.
he kills Albus Dumbledore.
On
Spoilers.
orders of Albus Dumbledore.
But nevertheless, he does it. So here's the thing. That's why I put him on the list, because it was very controversial, and you should have seen all the comments going back and forth.
I did see them. I read every single one of them.
Professor Snape works for Albus Dumbledore as a double agent.
Correct.
On Voldemort's side. But when you read the books and watch the movies, you don't find that out until like the last film.
Yeah.
And again, big spoilers, he kills Albus Dumbledore. Now he does it on Dumbledore's command.
Which is why he's not evil.
Right. But everyone thinks he is. Everyone think he is. So that's why I put
different
him there.
than being evil and becoming good at the end.
Okay. You know what? I actually kind of agree with you,
Yeah.
which is what I said too. But I was overruled, so I thought I would definitely put him on the list.
Well, we are right and they are wrong.
Yeah, because he's like a villain that you love.
Yeah.
And again, the only reason why I think it is kind of fair to put him on the list is, again, you don't find that out
true.
until the end.
And
you look at Darth Vader. Darth Vader saves the day at the end. He saves Luke.
After doing a lot of horrible things, though.
Sure.
And Snape, but I will say this, especially as, I mean, I had read all the books, obviously, when the film came out.
Right.
So I knew what
Right.
was going on. However, his performance, again, is so good as that sniveling
Harry Potter.
seeming to be evil,
Yeah.
Seeming to hate Harry, his disdain for him because of his father, James, and
God,
all of that. He does it so well.
I miss Alan Rickman.
I miss him
man.
too.
I love
that was
so much.
devastating.
It really
I hate
was.
to get into it, but it was so.
He was so well. Look at everything. Look at the work he gave us. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's why I put Snape there. I knew it would be controversial. Go ahead.
Okay, my next one is actually Tim Curry as the Devil in Legend. Now,
He's on my list.
okay, so
That is a bad movie with an amazing villain.
okay, just so you know, I love that movie.
I did when I was a kid.
Yes.
Have you watched it recently?
No, and I know, and that's why I won't.
Yeah.
I refuse to. The last time I saw it was over 10 years ago. And I have this memory of this film.
When I was a kid, I loved it. It's magical.
It's magical, and as a child, I loved it. So I actually want to leave it with
Tom
that
Cruise
memory.
in tights.
Tom Cruise in tights, so young and innocent. Unicorns, magic. Yeah. But that devil scared the living crap out of me. That whatever he is, the darkness.
The makeup of Tim Curry as the devil in Legend is incredible, and that holds up today. The film doesn't. That film is a Ridley Scott film. But
right.
You're right. I mean, he was on my list too, just because the voice, the look, it was so realistic.
Terrifying.
I agree with you. It was absolutely terrifying.
Good, yours.
Yeah, so it's a very good pick. Okay, I had Gary Oldman, but he's played so many villains.
Oh
I
gosh.
just wrote Gary Oldman as Dracula
Yep.
from Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's
100%.
Dracula. I put Gary Oldman as Zorg from The Fifth Element.
Right.
He's kind of a
Yes.
really campy, weird, kind of eccentric villain, but a villain nevertheless.
Yes.
And then actually my favorite, no one's really going to know the name, Norman Stansfield, but he was the corrupt cop in Leon the Professional.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That's one of the
Amazing.
best villains ever, where he's like playing orchestra music while he's
So good.
killing that whole family, and he's
So
just
good.
so good in that movie. And then of course he's Drexel in True Romance.
Yes.
He is
that was such an incredible
in
one.
that. So Gary Oldman, he's got four great villains.
And
which
I think of
are
him when you
amazing.
think of great movie villains, it's like Alan Rickman, Gary Oldman are at the top of my thoughts in
Right.
terms of actors.
Yeah, and they do so much more. They're just great villains too.
Yeah, amazing villain.
Okay,
and
go.
Gary Oldman was, and more recently, he did another villain.
You told me in The Hitman's
in The
Bodyguard.
Hitman's Bodyguard, and he was again excellent.
Excellent. I figured.
Okay, my next one was, it's a little bit more of a cheesy one, but Gaston, Beauty and the Beast.
You know what? I had him there, and I'll tell you, I think he absolutely is. And here's the main reason why I think he really is in the live adaptation.
Yes, that's more the one I'm even referring to, because
he
he's
was
nasty.
terrifying.
Yeah, he was really
like,
nasty.
He really was evil in that. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, so self-centered and disgusting, and everything about him, you hate him.
Yeah,
you
and
don't
a
like
foul
anything about him.
murderer. I mean, he was.
Yeah.
And not only was he trying to kill Beauty and the Beast, he was going to leave the father for dead. So
Correct.
it's actually a great pick.
Okay, good.
Okay, I've got OG, original gangster, Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your dog too.
That's on the, I did peruse a few lists for some ideas as well as my own favorites, and that was definitely on like top 5.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Wicked Witch of the West.
she's wicked.
And I'll tell you this, she's spooky still, and her flying monkeys, quite terrifying.
Totally. And funnily enough, though, in the musical Wicked, she's not the evil one.
Right.
Which is so funny because I was always terrified of her as a child.
Yeah. Okay, good. Your turn.
My next one was Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Of course.
Obviously, as especially as we discussed on horror movies, the concept of having something that can get you in your dreams is terrifying.
Yeah, and
so
the hands made of knives and the
just
face all
horrible.
burnt, the costume. It's iconic. I mean, Freddy Krueger, unfortunately, the films aren't fantastic.
No, they're not.
But the character of Freddy Krueger is iconic.
Yeah.
So it
As a
has to be
villain,
on the
yeah.
list of movie villains. I completely agree. Okay, let's see. Okay, I had Jack Torrance, which I'm surprised you didn't have yet, which is Jack Nicholson from The Shining.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, I know. I was sort of wondering how many horror films I should put on here because we just covered horror films. So there are obviously there's Mike Myers. There's quite a few. I actually skipped a lot of them.
Yeah, so they're going to be on my list because we have to mention them on any kind of authoritative villain list. But I mean, that's just
100%.
here's Johnny.
Oh, he's one of the greatest.
Yeah, and also just his slow descent into madness.
Totally.
He's so insane. I mean,
Bit by bit by bit.
fantastic villain.
One of my favorites, I don't think I mentioned this when we covered it last time, is when she looks at his typewriter and sees the paper and it just has like the same word over and over again, about 6-7 pages long, and then that's when you realize he's slowly but surely going mad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good.
Okay, good.
All right, my next one was actually I love the Indiana Jones films. Mola Ram is his name.
From Temple of Doom.
From Temple of Doom.
Oh, yeah.
He was
rips
so
out the heart.
terrifying. Oh my gosh, when I was little, I had nightmares about that all the time. I mean, now I can watch it and it's just great. But
Yeah, so I mean, Temple of Doom.
Yeah. He yells these weird things like Alila. He's calling to this god with this heart in his hand, and I was like, oh my god.
So unfortunately, Temple of Doom is considered by a lot of critics and so on as like the worst Indiana Jones. It's actually the one as a kid that holds the dearest place in my heart. I love
it's
Temple of
brilliant.
Doom. I think he says like Kali Lama, Kali
Yeah.
Ali, Kali Lama. But yeah, anyway, he was, that's actually a great
So
pick. That's like a
terrifying.
deep cut pick, but I love Temple of Doom. It's a great one.
When the entire scene with they go through this thing full of bugs and all this stuff. I mean, it's just an all around great indie movie.
Yeah, you know what's a funny anecdote? You know that whole scene that you and Danny were talking about when we did the Stranger Things episode?
Yeah.
With Jonathan and Nancy, where they're like going back and forth on the, talking about each other. And then finally they go out of their rooms and they bump into each other and they finally kiss. That's
that's
from
right.
Temple of Doom.
That's
Yeah.
I was
They did it to pay homage to Temple of Doom.
That's amazing because I was thinking, where do I know this sequence from?
Yeah.
Because I saw that many times.
That's
That's
right.
brilliant.
Yeah, that's a funny little tidbit. Okay, good. So I had to do Palpatine, Star Wars. He's the Emperor. So
Yes, of course.
also really Ian McDiarmid played him in all the prequels, and he's actually quite good as the Emperor. But then obviously you have him from the original trilogy as well. But for any villain list, you've got to say
Of course.
the Palpatine,
100%.
the Emperor.
And then I actually only have another Indiana Jones one, Colonel Fogel, the main Nazi in Last Crusade.
Oh yeah, he was
so
so like
So nasty.
creepy.
Yeah.
The only thing that took away him being really evil to me is I always remember that scene where you think he's going to pull out like a knife or a gun and he flips it open and it's a coat hanger to hang up his jacket.
Yeah.
And that kind of took away the menace from his character for me. But he is creepy.
I thought he was really, really nasty.
Is that all you have?
That's all I have. I know.
Wow. All right,
Sorry.
well, I've got a lot more. So
Let's have you go.
yeah, I'll go through them. That's okay. That's why I'm Tony the Movie Guy, right? But again, a lot of these came from the listeners and the people who follow the Tony the Movie Guy page. So I thought there were a lot of great mentions of great villains here. So
And
I'm
I
going to
did
kind of
look
go
at a
through
lot
them.
more, but I figured you would also cover a lot. So
Yeah, well, some of them we'll talk about. Some I'll just mention. Okay, good. So, I mean, you mentioned a bunch of the horror movie villains. So, of course, you have Michael Myers from Halloween. You have Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Which, again, a lot of people don't get that wrong. In the first film, he's not the baddie. It's the mother.
Yes.
But in all the sequels, he is.
as mentioned in Scream.
Right. Then you've got the Terminator, of course.
Yes,
Arnold Schwarzenegger in the
absolutely.
first one. T-1000, Robert Patrick.
Oh, so good.
Who was a fantastic villain.
Great villain.
I thought it was a great performance because it was so subtle, you know. He's just so deadpan, but he's creepy. And again, I mean, this is an audio podcast, but like when he goes and he like, you know, points no, I'm pointing no to Yenny. He does that whole thing. I mean, he's so delicious and cold as T-1000.
100%.
Alien, the Xenomorph, which is the alien, of course. Pinhead, which is from the Hellraiser series.
Okay. I don't know that.
I think I only ever saw one, but he always freaked me out as a character. Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, of course, who's just absolutely psychotic. Did you ever see that yet?
No,
the original?
I remember I really didn't like it, so I
very
just didn't.
Disturbing. But Leatherface for sure. The Predator, of course, which is a big villain. Okay, the Kurgan, Clancy Brown, who also plays the captain from the Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
He plays the Kurgan in The Highlander. And I just watched The Highlander. And I
movie?
Yeah, and I forgot how good the villain is. There can be only one. And he's like, he says, I've got something to say. It's better to burn out than to fade away. Anyway, he's the big baddie from The Highlander. It's played by Clancy Brown. He's called the Kurgan. It's so cheesy, but still so good.
Okay.
And he absolutely should be on a movie villain list because he's phenomenal. Okay, Agent Smith from The Matrix.
I thought
Hugo
about that
Weaving.
one. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he's so good. Mr. Anderson, he's so good.
Again, so good because he's like a human computer almost, and so weird.
So deadpan, but fantastic. I absolutely loved him. Magneto, Ian McKellen from the X-Men series.
And he's one you love as well because you have, a complete compassion for him because he's also good in ways.
But he's definitely bad.
Definitely an evil villain.
Murders people left, right, and center. And then Michael Fassbender as the younger Magneto.
So good.
Yes, so good. So I had to mention him.
Of course.
Okay, good. This is a movie villain that I personally don't get the appeal for. I'm putting it on the list because a lot of people said it, and he's considered one of the best movie villains, which is Javier Bardem from No Country for Old Men. He plays Anton Chigurh, and he's just this like hitman who goes around with this like cattle pump thing that you use to like, I don't know, it blows air and he pumps it into people's heads to kill them. I don't know. I missed something with his performance because he won an Oscar for it and everyone thought it was incredible. I just thought he had a few screws loose and, was lonely.
Okay.
It was kind of weird in that he should be, far away from like school playgrounds. And that's really what I thought. But I had to mention him. Anton Chigurh is the character. Bane. Tom Hardy's Bane.
100%, yeah.
Now you have my permission to die.
Tom Hardy. He did a fantastic job.
Tim.
Obviously it was overshadowed by Heath Ledger's Joker, but I thought it was still a really good villain. Doc Ock. Dr. Octopus. Alfred Molina from Spider-Man 2, which I think is a really fantastic film. And he's a villain that you care about because he's conflicted,
Totally.
know? He's kind of overpowered by his tentacles, but I thought he was fantastic.
That works.
Bill the Butcher, Daniel Day-Lewis from Gangs of New York. I mean, he was incredible.
I still haven't seen that.
Gangs of New York is a very interesting film. It's Leonardo DiCaprio, and I think it's actually one of Leonardo DiCaprio's worst performances.
Oh, really?
It's a Martin Scorsese film. The first 20 minutes of that film are phenomenal, and the last 20 minutes of that film are phenomenal, and the hour and a half in between is not very good.
Okay.
What makes the film incredible is Daniel Day-Lewis, who plays Bill the Butcher. He's the main antagonist. He is just chilling. He's absolutely phenomenal in it. Okay, this is a fantastic one. This role and character haunts me to this day. Again, because it's someone real. It's a real person. It's Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
That's the one with also Jack Nicholson, right?
Yeah.
He's
stuck in the mental
that was
excellent institution. She's just so... She thinks she's so right, but she knows she's not helping these people.
Yeah.
And she drives, Billy, the character, to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And then also just the lobotomies and the electric shock
horrible.
and all that stuff that really goes on.
Yeah.
And she's just so cold and heartless about it.
Definitely.
She won an Oscar, the woman who played that role. And unfortunately, that's actually going on. So I think that was so chilling. Okay. Annie Wilkes, Kathy Bates from Misery.
Which, remember, we went over this film I still haven't seen, and you need to let me watch it with you.
I'm your biggest fan.
She's such a good actress.
She won an Oscar, Kathy Bates, for that film. That film is terrifying. And again, the film isn't phenomenal. Her performance is one for the ages. It's incredible. Okay, this one I actually think is a bit too low on this list. Bellatrix Lestrange, Helen Bonham Carter from the Harry Potter movies.
Definitely.
She was incredible.
Yeah,
I
she
mean,
was
she
amazing.
was such a good villain. And
Great villain.
obviously she kills Sirius Black, which was devastating. I love that character. Spoilers, but these have been out for a decade. Okay, Alex DeLarge. This is Malcolm McDowell from Clockwork Orange. Have you ever seen Clockwork?
No.
Okay. He's just such a sociopath, psychopath, such a delicious role. And again, in the film, he's kind of the protagonist, but I mean, he's nothing but evil. Rapes, kills, murders, chilling performance. Absolutely fantastic.
Cool.
Maleficent.
Yeah.
Definitely a villain. Jafar from Aladdin.
Absolutely.
Definitely a villain.
Yep.
Ursula from The Little Mermaid.
100%.
Okay, Shere Khan from The Jungle Book.
Now, yeah, that one is 100%.
So Shere Khan was scary from the cartoon, but I thought Idris Elba made him really menacing in the remake. Like he was actually quite, I'm a grown adult. I'm a bit of a kid, let's face it. But
You're a grown kid.
I'm a baby at heart. But he was really quite terrifying. Like I felt the dread. And I remember being in the theater and seeing kids just like curled up
really
with their parents, scared.
Yeah.
And especially at the end of the big showdown with the forest on fire and Shere Khan. That was a good performance. Lotso Bear from Toy Story 3.
Oh my God, that's a good one.
It really is, because, and also he has no redemption. You think he redeems himself, but he doesn't. He's just so creepy.
He's evil.
Yeah, and again, it kind of just shows how someone who originally is good can just kind of descend and just become
He's
so...
pretending to be good, but really is...
Well, no, he was originally when he was a bear and he had an owner, and then they... threw him away, and then he just it kind of shows how he became so cold.
What caused his downward spiral to madness.
Exactly. Okay, so here's a funny one, but you have to do it. Dr. Evil from the Austin Powers trilogy.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we're talking comedic villains now.
I will blow up the earth unless you give me $1 million. I'm doing the thing with my mouth and my finger, but no one can see it.
Just I do have a soft spot for those films.
Visualize it, listeners. Dr. Evil. Anyway, he's a
fair enough.
He's a comedic villain, but definitely a villain. Okay, good. Commodus, Joaquin Phoenix from Gladiator. Oh my God, he was such a sniveling, wretched villain.
It's true.
But he really was.
100%.
Okay, let's see. Mr. Blonde, Michael Madsen from Reservoir Dogs. Have you seen Reservoir Dogs?
Yes, I have.
I mean, he was so evil, and when he tortures the cop and cuts his ear off, it's like, hello. And he's enjoying every moment.
Yep.
Okay, Ivan Drago. Come on, Rocky IV, Dolph Lundgren.
I haven't seen the Rocky movies, Tony.
Yanni. You have to see Rocky IV. That's when Rocky basically brings America and Russia back together and ends the Cold War.
through fighting.
Through boxing.
Oh my God.
Anyway, Ivan Drago, great villain.
Oh, I just thought of one.
Go ahead.
One of my favorite movies, Willow. The evil mother in Willow.
Yeah,
she's a
like
phenomenal
the witch
villain.
Sorceress.
Yeah, she
Very
is
evil.
so nasty.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a good pick. Okay, Tony Montana, of course. Say hello to my little friend. It's Al Pacino in Scarface.
Yeah.
Great villain. Shows just the rise of a big drug lord and his big descent to madness. General Zod, of course. So that would be from the Superman films. Superman 2 originally played by Terrence Stamp. Mm-hmm. And then Michael Shannon played him again in Man of Steel. But General Zod is a big villain. I think Terrence Stamp gave the best performance. Kneel to Zod. Okay, good. Lex Luthor. So again, these films are so old. But Kevin Spacey, damn. But again, actually did a great performance in Superman Returns, the reboot with Brandon
I didn't know
Routh.
that was him.
Yeah, he was actually very good in it. But Gene Hackman was fantastic as Lex Luthor in all the original Superman movies with Christopher Reeve. I thought he was a fantastic villain. Okay, good. Aaron from Primal Fear, Edward Norton.
I can't believe I forgot all my Edward Nortons.
And that
one's
introduced the
amazing.
world to Edward Norton.
Yeah.
Such an
I love that
incredible
film, by the way. A
Oh.
plug for Primal Fear. Great movie.
Yeah.
I mean, his performance is what shines, but it's actually a great
Oh
film.
no, the whole film was great. Actually,
great.
I watched it a few months ago with Danny. I wasn't sure if it would hold up, and we loved it.
Which brings me to Mark Wahlberg in Fear itself.
Oh yeah,
That's a pretty good
that's a
villain.
deep cut, but you're right. That film seems really cheesy, but is actually a bit smarter than you would think. It's got
it
some
turns
really good
into
thrills.
a decent thriller.
Right, and his performance is actually
Yeah.
genuinely creepy. So
It is creepy.
I'll give it to you for all the teens. Fear with Reese Witherspoon and Mark Wahlberg. Okay, let's see. Calvin Candy. So Leonardo DiCaprio from Django Unchained.
Oh,
I mean,
that
there's
was
a
a great
villain.
performance. Yeah,
So racist, but also so heartless and
Yeah.
Great
So evil.
performance. Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
he was really, really good in that. Owen Davian, Philip Seymour Hoffman from Mission Impossible 3. I thought he was
That was
fantastic
brilliant.
in that movie. I mean, he's got that scene that everyone always remembers. Like, do you have a wife? Do you have a girlfriend?
yeah.
Because if you do, I'm going to find her. And I'm going to hurt her. And I'm going to kill you in front of her.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to kill her. And he just says it so cold with no emotion.
I love that movie.
Yeah, and
That's
he's
so
doesn't even have a
good.
big performance in that film, but he's
brilliant.
chilling.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm almost done here. Okay, this is a real deep cut, but I have to say this, and a few people, which I was really happy to see, did bring it up in the survey. Harlan, Jude Law from Road to Perdition. Have you seen Road to Perdition?
I have not.
Okay. Road to Perdition.
It looked so sad and dark.
It is, and
yeah.
I kicked myself that I forgot to put it on the hidden gems list.
Okay.
And maybe I didn't because it was quite acclaimed when it came out, but it's really just been forgotten. It was Sam Mendes, it's Tom Hanks, who's basically an anti-hero. Jude Law is the main protagonist. Antagonist in this
Yeah.
film. He is so chilling, and he is
wow.
so good in it. It's a performance I never forget. It was incredible, and it kind of blew me away as well because I didn't really know who Jude Law was at the time, but
Right.
it was so good. Okay, Castor Troy from Face Off. Now, here's what's great
I was
about
thinking
that.
about that.
You can give it to Nicolas Cage,
Or
and you
to-
can give it
yeah.
to John Travolta.
They were both
play
excellent,
it
yeah.
so well.
Yeah.
Batshit crazy, but a great villain.
Yeah, really good.
I think I'm almost done. Let's see. I had to do Javier Bardem from Skyfall. One of the Daniel Craig James Bonds as Silver. His mouth and face is all deformed and messed up. I thought he was a great villain. I really liked him there. I had to mention the Child Snatcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh my God, so terrifying.
This villain, with the long pointy nose
Yeah.
and
I smell children.
I'm 40 years old, Yenny, and it still scares me,
Yeah.
that character.
was
As a
terrifying.
kid, it terrified me. It
Yeah.
legitimately gave me nightmares. The
I agree.
Child Snatcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, a Disney movie.
Yeah.
It will haunt your dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty terrifying.
Okay, here's the last one, which everyone loves, and everyone's going to like this. Jareth, the Goblin King, David Bowie
I was
from
gonna
Labyrinth.
bring that up. I was like, I just thought of the Goblin King, of
But
course.
I thought we could end it on a good note.
We love him.
You're so selfish, Sarah. Is that her name, Sarah? Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah.
Just
That's a brilliant
bow to
one.
me, kneel to me, and I will be your slave.
Love me.
Yeah,
it's
anyway,
brilliant.
Jareth was amazing, and nowadays when everyone watches that movie, everyone like freeze frames us on his bulge.
That's right.
I
His
mean,
weird sideward bulge.
yeah. No one could pull off that performance though. The crazy wig and outfit. I mean, again, rest in peace, David Bowie. But
And you
I
love him. You love
you
you
do.
love him.
But he's legitimately evil.
Of course, he's got the baby.
Absolutely evil. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's my list. So, I mean, that was a good, healthy amount of movie
That's
villains.
a very good, healthy amount of.
Yeah. So, look, if anyone thinks we left any out, comment. You can email us. Danny, the producer, will give the email at the end. You can also comment on Tony the Movie Guy. But I thought that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and what we'll do is we'll do movie heroes as another episode
Yeah.
coming soon. It might
We
not
do
be
have a
the-
lot coming up. You could do a little run on that. We actually have some cool things coming up, including
Yeah.
obviously a Christmas episode because I'm very passionate about Christmas.
Yeah, well, I'm going to leave those as surprises.
Yeah.
But yeah, we try and do a new episode every week. Obviously, we're moving into December, so we will do a Christmas episode. And as one of the next upcoming episodes, we'll do movie heroes
Cool.
as kind of a counterpart to movie villains, because I think that'll be fun.
That's a good idea.
And what I'll do actually is I'll put a survey on Tony the Movie Guy, the page.
course.
And get everyone's comments, because I love all the comments and feedbacks from you, the listeners and
Oh,
the
yeah.
readers of the page. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for listening to Tony the Movie Guy. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much for listening to another new episode of Tony the Movie Guy, the podcast. Just a reminder, you can follow us on all of our social media at Tony the Movie Guy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we also have an email, Tony the Movie Guy podcast at gmail.com. Email us anything. We don't care. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you haven't already, leave a 5-star review on iTunes. We really appreciate it, and it actually helps way more than you think. So we'd really appreciate it if you would do that. It takes about 2 seconds, and I'll love you forever, personally, from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. And again, wanted to remind you of our sponsor, audibletrial.com/Tony the Movie Guy. Sign up today for your free audiobook and 30-day trial. See you next week. Bye-bye.